What's up, Trash Talkers? Here at Veteran Trash Talk, we actually vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a Butter Bar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran in their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? Hope everybody's having a great Monday and hope everything's going fine. As you can see, my co-host Lynn is back from her little excursion to Missouri, and we'll let her talk about that here in a second. But first, we're going to get through all of our sponsors and everything else going on. I know if you saw my post today, I put a picture of the mental health warrior and then a sign that I got from the Arctic when I was up there. Was just different arrows going all kinds of different ways, and really that just means we have no idea where the show's going to go today. It's just going to really be open mic. And so if you'd like to ask any questions, please put it in the comments. We'll be more happy to get to them. We've had a couple of great guests come on. We're trying to get some more lined up for May and June. We have a lot of things going on. And so it's going to be a very busy year and a very great year, not only for Veterans Trash Talk, but also for here for the Mental Health Warrior podcast for Lynn and I. But before we get in that, we've got the QR code up there in the upper left-hand corner for Visa Across America. And it's a great way to memorialize the veterans out there. They do it every year around Christmas time. You can scan that QR code for as little as $10. You can donate a wreath, but also with that, you can personalize a wreath too for a family member or friend. And so it's really great. I'm really happy to be part of them. Along with that, Reads Across America Radio, we play my podcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. Super easy to find. You just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, and search for Reese Across America Radio for not only Lynn and I's great podcast, but all the great podcasts and all the great music they play out there. Really super happy to be a part of them. We got the 10th Mountain up there. I talk about them all the time, but it's really nice to have a company there out of Colorado there that they make really good bourbon. And since I've been here in Italy and I can't get the 10th Mountain bourbon, I have gone out and tasted different bourbons from different countries I've traveled to, and so far the one that they age in sherry barrels has been the best one. And so, if you haven't tried it, we'll put the QR code out there, we'll put the website out there. You go ahead and click on that website and go ahead and order it. They'll let you know if they can deliver to your state or not. And you do have to have somebody above the age of 21 home to receive it if you do order it online. You got the Veterans Mortgage. You saw the app. There we go with the VTT code. I think the code saves you 10%. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. You got the Veterans Mortgage. You saw that video before the program started. So be sure to scan that QR code. Of course, you have obviously PCS to Paradise. They're out there in Hawaii. Scan that QR code and find your dream home, find your vacation home. Super excited to do that. But before we jump into everything else, Lynn, I know you were off last week because your daughter had a soccer game, but then you were gone to Missouri, my home state.
Yes.
Of course, I didn't grow up on the St. Louis side. I grew up on the other side, Kansas City and down by Branson. But hey, why don't you fill the audience in what you've been up to for the last 2 weeks, and we'll just kind of go from there.
All right. There's a little bit of background noise.
Yeah, I hear it now. Yeah, Chris. There he goes. There we go. Now we're good. He muted it. Did you freeze up, Lynn? Oh, Lynn froze up. So we'll get back to her, but we'll give her a second to come back on. We'll get some feedback issues. It's Monday, right? The gremlins are running wild. Just like out in Spain. I don't know if you guys heard the power outages out in Spain and Portugal. It's quite interesting when you read about that, and you can say what you want about different stuff, but it's always important to be prepared for any natural emergency or anything that goes on. Talk about the power outage in Spain real quick, Lynn, while you're getting
Okay.
back on. But it's always, we had 4 Pages that was a sponsor us for a while. And, it's always important. You need to always have 3 months worth of supplies in your house because you never know what's going to happen. Not only you need to make sure you have, a little bit of cash on hand, food, water, all those things that you need to be at least to be able to survive for at least 3 months at minimum. Even though I live here in Italy, I absolutely always have that in my house because it's very important, of course, along with euros and dollars.
I'm gonna
Because
switch to my phone.
Go ahead. Once
Um,
the power grid goes down, there's nothing you can't get money at the ATM. You can't pay with things with the Cash App. You can't pay stuff with through your banking app. And so you have to have that cash on hand. And so, if anything, you've been reading about what's been going on in Spain and Portugal. Where people are stranded. The train stopped. The traffic lights were. If the whole country went black, the whole country of Spain went black. And so it's very important to keep yourself prepared. It's very important to be self-aware. Even if you're traveling and you're on vacation, it's always good to have a little bit of extra provisions, just in case something like this happens. It never hurts to be a little bit over prepared than being under prepared. And I say that all the time. I find it to be very important because I grew up in Missouri, and one thing about Missouri is we have crazy weather all the time, right? We have tornadoes, we have ice storms, snowstorms. Sometimes you can have all that in one day. And so I just kind of learned growing up that way, to always be prepared. One thing I did, I was stuck in New Orleans one time for a hurricane,
oh
is,
gosh.
what you can do is, fill up your bathtub. That gives you portable water, extra water to do stuff in. So there's certain things you can do just to make sure you have enough water and other stuff going on. But even if you're on vacation, it's good, especially if you're traveling this summer, just to have a little bit extra provisions. Make sure you have a little bit extra euro or cash or whatever the currency is that you're traveling to, because it will make your life a little bit easier to move around. And it'll make your mental health a whole lot better and a whole lot less stressful, and you enjoy your vacation a little bit more. Hey, Lynn, are you back now?
Yes, I'm back now. I don't know what's happening with my connection. I literally leave to go to the woods, and it's like I brought the woods back because I had
That
no
happens in
service.
Missouri.
Yeah, I had no service at all. Like it was literally in the middle of the woods. It was a great experience. So it was called it's a leadership summit for Irreverent Warriors. We have it every single year. Well, this year
Nice.
was a lot different because every year they usually do it like at a conference center in Dallas, and they stay at a nice hotel, and they get to go out and eat and drink and go party at the end of the night. This is a lot different, a lot more intimate. And not only leadership was invited, but people's team members. So I was
Oh,
able to
nice.
bring my team members. I actually invited most of my team members, but they unfortunately couldn't make it. Wasn't sure what the situation was going to be in when I first signed up.
Were you on the
I thought
Gasconade
because
River there?
yeah, so there is a river there. I didn't know if we were gonna be like, because they said we're gonna be camping infantry style, and I was like,
Hmm.
oh heck no, we're gonna make our own hooch. We're gonna be sleeping on the floor. Like, what is happening? What did I sign myself up for? But it was nothing like that. It's more like a like a
Glamping.
like a boys and girls summer camp type of
Yeah,
thing where
yeah,
we have
yeah.
like open bay barracks. So there was like different villages, but so we had it was a wood cottage, and I was in the all female village, which we had three different cottages, and each cottage had four bunk beds. Now
Oh,
my
nice.
broken butt is not gonna get up on the top bunk. So I'm happy that I got there early. I got there like I want to say nine. My airplane landed like at 9:30, and then they catered like a shuttle to come get
Okay.
us, and and they shuttle us to the campsite. So I was able to pick my bunk on the bottom next to the one and only outlet they had, which I didn't even really need because there was zero service. But that's the whole point of the thing. So I think it was like like 90 people or less of us that actually attended, which is really nice because you actually got to get to know everybody. We had this entire agenda that we went through. So our schedule was jam packed.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
It was a retreat. So like I said, if you guys don't remember, we are now partners and under Grunt Style Foundation. So we are Irreverent Warriors with Grunt Style Foundation. And so Grunt Style Foundation is the nonprofit section of Grunt Style, and they use that name. And they are committed to mental health and wellness, transition and sustainment, food insecurities and homelessness, and they help veterans continue to serve our country with recognition, honor, and support. So what Grunt Style Foundation has done, with the leadership of Will Weisner, he's the CEO, and then the president is Tim Jensen. They were founded in 2021, and they supported Irreverent Warriors the whole time. He, along with VFW and Irreverent Warriors, we're all partnered up together now. So it's like we're this one huge big deal. They have been lobbying in Congress for our behalf for a lot of benefits. So like the PACT Act that came from them protesting and lobbying for that. And I remember when Will Weiser and everybody was doing that and marching on the steps at the Capitol. He's also this leadership retreat with Grunt Style Foundation and Irreverent Words focused a lot on mental health and moving away from pills. And this is something that aligns with you because you always
Yeah.
talking about, more natural ways of healing.
Yep.
And so they lobby a lot. I know in Missouri, they were one of the reasons why they put a lot of pressure on them to get like cannabis, legalized in the state, but also to not try to monopolize it. Like they're trying to like make it into a monopoly where like people can't grow. And they had veterans come in and say how that would affect them in a negative way. And so they did not pass that bill. So they do things like that, for the
Yeah.
benefits of us. So a lot of alternative healings, natural healings, and they call it different modalities. So we all use something different in our toolbox to, to help our mental health. So like you and I, we do this podcast, we talk to people, Irreverent Warriors, we bring veterans together to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. And so we're actively preventing veteran suicide, but we're also actively promoting healthy healing. And so this is what it was all about. We did a music at the campfire. We did a couple of film screenings. So there is a documentary about Irreverent Warriors. And that is actually coming out on Amazon Prime and on Netflix, I think, and it's going to be free. You don't have to pay for it. It's called The Hike Back. So I highly recommend watching that when that does come out. We also got to enjoy a pre-screening of what it's called the American Sons. And the producer and director flew in for that. And they're gonna show it on Sundance Film Festival. And we were like one of the first ones that got to see that. And so it showcased this Marine, and he documented his entire pretty much deployment. And then it also documents all the other Marines that were with him and how they coped and how some survived, some didn't. And also shows at the end how one of the Marines had like dozens of pill bottles and was just
Yep.
gone. And so it kind of shows that break in the system. And so if that ever comes out, American Sons, it's powerful. It's a powerful documentary. There was not a dry eye in that
Oh
theater
wow.
room. I literally just like bawled my eyes out. And then like after that, I couldn't do it the rest of the night. I just went to my cabin and then hung out with some of the girls and then just talked. Like we had healthy talking about our traumas, like exchanging that. And I think that was really cool. We did professional stuff like leadership development. We talked about our mission statement and all that stuff. Um, Emotional intelligence was a big
Mhm.
issue because, and I know when veterans get out, they don't know how to act sometimes around
Mhm.
civilians, or the employers don't want to hire veterans because veterans always say they hate people. They don't want to talk to people. They
Mm.
don't want to
Yeah.
work with people. So we talked about taking a step back, taking a break before responding. Instead of responding with anger, respond thoughtfully.
Yeah. That's something I always had a hard time with. I had to learn later in life is I would shoot off at the mouth a lot.
Yeah.
Just a knee jerk reaction, and then you're like, wow, I should have waited 2 seconds before opening my mouth. But you learn that with
Yep.
age, I think. But that is kind of a. But I want to go back to something you talked about earlier. With the holistic healing, I think that is so very important.
Yes.
At my age, I take no medications. I'm not anti-doctor. I just had an eye infection, had to go to the doctor with, and they prescribed me medicine. I went away, and I go back to my natural healing. So there are things you do need a doctor for, but I'm talking about for mental health, and some of these drugs are worse than the symptoms that you're having,
Yep.
and everything you need to talk with your doctor about. Don't go off your medications or anything like that. I'm not a doctor. I did study a lot of holistic medicines because the important thing is when you go into the holistic route, one, it doesn't work as fast as modern medications. You have to realize that. Two, you need to find out what works for you and your body because everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody metabolizes things differently. Everybody body reacts to certain things differently, and so you really need to look at those kinds of ailments and things that you have that could affect. Now, one thing that people don't realize, and something simply you do for anxiety, mental health, thyroid issues, is Brazil nuts. And Brazil nuts, what's good about them is they're high in selenium. Selenium can lead into a lot of things. And so to help me with my anxiety and stuff when I have it is every day I eat three Brazil nuts. You don't have to eat a lot of them. Just three of them
Yeah.
is enough to get your dosage. And then one thing I switched to, I finally found a copper. I actually went to the only copper factory in Italy that still operates where they hand make copper cups, dishes, and things since 1924. And so I bought copper cups that are lined with tin and copper cups that aren't. And so a couple of times during the week, I will drink out of a copper cup that isn't lined, and that helps me get some copper. But anyway, enough with that. There's many books out there. You can follow Barbara O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
She's very popular. Dr. Chavez, another one that actually killed him, but his books are still out there. And what he thought about healing things. Read and educate yourself. Talk with your doctor, and your life will be so much better. Since
There
I've got off
is
medication, it's so much better.
There's a book out on it's on TikTok and I don't remember what it was, but it's like an herbalist book. So we had an actual herbalist come
Hmm.
to our summit and he talked about the many different ways to heal. And surprisingly enough, they talked about mushrooms, they talked about
Mhm.
ayahuasca, they talked about CBD. They gave out tons of free CBD, the legal
Mhm.
stuff. But
Yeah.
this herbalist expert, he also runs a ministry, and so there's different ministries, and he's traveled all over the world. He's traveled to Peru, Costa
Mhm.
Rica, different places in the world where they are experts in these herbal medicines that are natural. But he runs a ministry that can administer some of the other stuff like shrooms and ayahuasca.
Yeah, yeah.
um and that's a way that they can kind of get around the law. um and they have to operate kind of like how the Native Americans do like their peyote.
Mhm.
So they followed those kind of guidelines. What else did they get? We did equine therapy. So we
Mm.
had horses on the ranch, and this lady who is a certified counselor, and a doctor. So she called it psychotherapy equine.
Hmm.
therapy. And we learned about how the horses kind of respond to your physiological
Oh
like
yeah.
symptoms, like your heart rate, like your body, and things like that. What else? We also there was we did a barbecue competition where we had the Texans did a barbecue, and then Memphis, Tennessee did barbecue. And the guy from Memphis, he's an award winning, so I feel like that was like cheating because he's won several barbecue competitions. He's an award winning pit master. But
Yeah.
he said that is his modality, is
Yeah.
cooking, is barbecuing, and that's his healing. He said that he is on the recovery through addiction and homelessness. And he joined Irreverent Warriors, and he found himself again and found cooking and barbecuing. So
Well,
literally, that saved his
I find
life.
that I find that too. With working at kind of
Hmm.
restaurant in the kitchen,
Right.
for me that's healing. And it's awesome when you can find that outlet.
So there's another thing that Grunt Style Foundation does, where they travel around and they do what you do, is talk to people. And they have this thing called the Triangular Compass Overview. It's a veteran healing framework workshop covering physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. There's a lot of good information on that. If you want to learn more about it, you can go on AmericanGrit.com. There's that their entire thing is on there. The workshop is on there, so there's like different chapters, but they call it the Triangular Compass. At night they also did a guided meditation Blue Lotus ceremony. So I
Hmm.
guess it's some herbal tea that helps you, and you meditate. We also did meditation and yoga. We did a hike. It's
Nice.
literally full like schedule up until from like 8 a.m. all the way to 9:30 p.m.
Wow.
So every minute was pretty much planned. We did have breaks. And I'm not gonna lie, I had to sneak off in the middle of the day to take my naps. There's this one girl, Lauren. She does the IW Adventures. So she does the cruises, right? So we have a cruise to Alaska in May, and then there's one in Cancun. But they partner up with the cruise lines to do that. So she was in my cabin, and she every day she's like, "Len, every single day you have managed to sneak away and take a nap." I say, "Yep, I need." I can't just be on all day. I have to like recharge
Yeah.
and like recharge my social battery, because that's a lot of like socializing, a lot of healing work.
Hmm.
Um,
But it's really great, Lynn, that you knew you needed to do that and you went and did that no matter where
yep.
you're at. That's just knowing your body and knowing your limits. And I think that's really awesome.
So I think like next year, I want to bring this to my team. I've only had one person on my team come. Heck, Cliff, if you're available, I'd like to take you too
Oh
on
yeah.
the team. So that would be amazing. But if anybody has a chance to go to a summit like this, to go to a transformational healing retreat for veterans like this, I highly recommend it. I know IW Adventure is doing one in Indianapolis next month, a camping retreat. I don't know that they're going to have this same agenda, um, but just being around your people and like just
Yeah.
being having that self-awareness to know like, hey, I'm messed up, I need to fix myself, and all these other people are also the same. We can kind of, you know, relate, and stories resonate. It was a really good time for me. But I'm tired. I flew in. I literally flew in past midnight last night. I got
Wow.
home probably like 2 a.m. I had to wake up and go to work and be at work by 6 a.m. So um I'm just running on adrenaline at this point.
Well, now you know what I feel like at night when we do the podcast. It's almost the midnight, 11 o'clock
Yeah.
here. Waiting for it to get on. I get a little tired, but that sounds like a really great event, and I look
Oh,
forward
one more
to.
thing they did. They did
Yeah, go ahead.
a cold plunge. You know those
Ooh, I
ice
like the cold
plunge?
plunges.
They
Yep.
do that. It's good for your body. They talk about
Mhm.
all the good effects for your physical and mental health.
In
Doing the cold
in
plunge.
Finland, I did that. They had the hot tub, and then they had the cold
Yeah,
plunge
yeah. That's
pool,
the
and then they
fire
had
and
the other one.
ice. the
Yeah,
fire and ice thing, and then they
I,
said if you're doing fire and ice and you feel like one part of your joint is like throbbing or sore, it's working.
yeah.
So,
It was
but yeah,
interesting. They had a sign up that would explain, what you do. You don't do it, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or whatever in the cold plunge, and then get in the warm water. It was
yeah.
kind of interesting.
They said 12 minutes a week for cold plunges, and then you could break
Mhm.
that up however you want, like maybe 1 minute this day, 2 minutes another day, or whatnot. But 12 minutes a day or a week to start off with
Hmm.
for to
Well, did
reap the
they talk about
benefits.
if you couldn't do the plunge, doing the ice plunge with your face and getting the benefits of that by putting your face in ice
Oh
water?
yeah,
Yeah,
they talked about literally every one of these seminars were at least 1 hour long, where
yeah,
like they dived into this subject and told us very good information about everything. There was a session called "Plants Over Pills,"
yeah.
and then the veterans over prescription problem, talking about
Yeah.
how the VA over prescribes pills, like,
Yes,
oh,
they
this
do.
something's wrong with you. Well, let's take this pill. Let's give
Yeah.
you this pill. Let's give you that pill.
They're
Um,
not treating the core issue, they're treating the
no.
symptoms, and that's the
And
problem.
I saw this firsthand with my dad back in 2014, or I want to say maybe 2013. My dad was in the hospital in the ICU and was going to die. He was overprescribed pills and he got what's called Steve Johnson syndrome.
Mm.
Steve Johnson syndrome is like pretty much when your skin and your body starts melting,
Oh,
like
wow.
from the pills. Like you're literally you created some toxicity all over your skin, and so his literally layers and layers of all his skin melted down to his muscles. So
Oh,
he had to
wow.
be in the ICU for like over a month, maybe 2 3 months, I don't remember, but I remember I went to go visit him because he was in the Philippines when it happened. So when that happened, I in the Philippines, even though he's a disabled veteran and they have a VA hospital there, in order to get care at the public hospital, you have to pay first before you get that
Yeah.
care. So I raised that money for him to get that care. And I remember getting a phone call like, why are you sending money to foreign land, this much money? Because I sent like $20,000. I
Yeah.
raised a lot of money for him. But only 10%, less than 10% of people who get Johnson syndrome survive.
Wow.
And my dad survived.
That's
And
amazing.
he got a second chance at life. I mean, he's had heart attacks. He's had all,
Yeah.
he's had a bunch of health problems. Because I mean, he's a veteran of Vietnam War, Cold War, Desert Storm, so
That's
um
amazing, but I think they do, it's that. And then and then you find out, after COVID and all this, and you find out all these doctors are on the hook with these pharmaceutical companies. They're getting kickbacks and all this stuff's coming out. I'm just hoping that really with RFK and all that, they can really, get a handle on that and get a lot of things fixed. What a lot of people don't realize with RFK, he kind of talks funny.
mhm,
That was a result of the flu vaccine. That's why his voice sounds like it does. That's an
yeah.
injury from the flu vaccine, and so it's scary, the stuff that's coming out with the autism rates and the vaccines and everything. I think a lot of Americans the next year and a half are really going to have their minds open to
I
a
just
lot of things, and I remember as a kid, we hardly ever went to the doctor because we couldn't afford it, but we didn't need to. We did if they need. Then everybody gets away from that, and I think you're seeing a
yeah.
shift with people going back to the more natural way of healing
I just
because they
saw
know better.
Chris's
Go ahead.
comment. Chris's comment says that they prescribe some places and then they do the microdosing to
Yeah.
heal.
Hmm.
They talked about that in the seminar about microdosing mushrooms. And so this is what Grunt Style Foundation in and Irreverent Wars and Veteran VFW, the Veteran Foreign
Yeah.
Wars, we're all partnered together and aligned together to create change in Congress so that we can try to get these, um, accepted with the VA care. So
Yeah.
they're pushing on VA. They said they spent $871 million for veteran suicide. Where's that $871 million? Why did you
Right.
spend that much? Why is
Yeah.
the number going up? Because it's more than 22 a day now.
Yeah.
So and the prescriptions are not working. Like you're over prescribing pills. So they're working with the VA to push them to be able to have these alternative modalities to
Well,
veterans.
they need to get more functional doctors to come into the VA and work. I mean, that's what a functional doctor does. They're more of a natural way of healing. They look at different ways, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's way beneficial for the veteran. Can you share the links to the website, Lynn, of the Irreverent
Yeah.
Warrior and work stuff, so they can have them?
So I can't really type because I'm on my phone.
But
But
after the show, you can throw it in the
yeah.
comment section.
Irreverentwarriors.com is for our hikes. And then if you go on VFW website, you could see that they have the press release that they are our big national sponsor.
Hmm.
And they are working with us. And now VFW, they are chartered through Congress. And so they
Hmm.
have bylaws in the way that they work. You don't have to be a veteran foreign war for them to help you. So membership and help is two different things.
Mm.
Um, but you can partner with them. So VFW is what they said is that they're using Grunt Style Foundation and Irreverent Warriors to evoke change because that's what they started in 1899 or something to do that, to make Congress step up and take care of veterans. So go on AmericanGrit.com. That's where you're going to find a lot of the information about the mental health that the foundation is putting out. American, GRIT.com. And then, of course, for any hikes and the adventures like our camping, our cruises, irreverentwarriors.com. You'll find information on there. And like I said, we are pretty much one. So there's three of us, and we're a big powerhouse now. And we're changing. We're changing how how veterans are being treated,
Yeah,
and we are that new generation now. Like, unfortunately, sadly, a lot of Vietnam War vets are dying off,
yeah,
so GWAT is stepping in.
yeah,
And I want to say, like, a lot of people have, I've heard a lot of different mixed feelings about the VFW, and I say if you don't like your VFW, join it and change
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Join it
absolutely.
and invite 20 of your friends, and then
Yeah,
you'll see, like, they are going through a change, a shift in culture,
yeah,
a culture shift. Oh, they're older VFW. Well, join it and recruit everyone and change it.
yeah.
I know when I picked
Well,
my VFW, I asked them, how do you feel about GWAT vets? How do you feel about female vets? That was my number one question, was a female vet
yeah.
and GWAT vet. And I love my VFW. They're amazing. We partner with them. Our hikes stop and start at the VFW. They fundraise for us. They love having us. So,
Well, I was a member of the biggest VFW in the nation. They were, in Manassas, where I lived, in Woodbridge down the
mhm.
road. And of course, now, I changed my affiliation to VFW here. The sadly is they did have it here on base here at support site, but then they moved it to Vienna, and so my meetings are virtual. But maybe I'll make it up for a meeting one weekend or something. I'll make a weekend out of it. But it's a couple-hour train ride, so it's not too bad. But yeah, the VFWs are great. They are going through a transitional period. Like you said, from the Vietnam veteran to the GWAT. And if you don't like the way your VFW is, like Lynn was saying, join it and change it.
Yep.
And the younger generation likes to do things a little bit differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I tell
Yeah.
you what, you go to VFW and you sit down to that guy at the end of the bar, you're going to hear some really great stories. It's sad that we're going to lose a lot of those stories with the Vietnam vets now passing, just like we did with the World War II veterans. And so, just take that time to go and visit, and and check it out, because a lot of the FWs are making a lot of changes. They're getting more modernized now. They do things differently. I know the one I went to, man, they had karaoke night, they had wings night. I mean, they had all kinds
Yeah.
of things going on all the time. It was
Bingo night.
fun. Cheap drinks. I mean, you could go pre-flight there and then go out to your other place if you wanted to with a designated driver.
And there's VFWs that are non-smoking. Like my
Yeah,
VFW, it's non-smoking, but we have like a smoking lanai, a smoking patio for smokers. But in actual establishment here at beaches, Jack's Beach, it's no smoking. And if you
Yeah.
can't join the VFW, join the American Legion, American Legion or the
Yeah.
DAV. They're all great associations. I know one of the girls that was at the summit, she's Coast Guard. And unfortunately, Coast Guard doesn't get a chance that many chances to deploy overseas to a foreign war.
Yeah.
So they do the war on drugs. And not a lot of them get that opportunity to, not a lot of them are GWAT vets or deployed to war. So you can partner up with them. You can help the mission, or just join an American Legion, and they do the same mission as well. They're also chartered through Congress.
Yeah. That's true. That's a good point. I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Hmm.
But it's yeah, it's great. There's a lot of different things out there. And what's nice about the VFW is also you can sit down, you can have really good conversations. It's a safe place to meet up and with other veterans and kind of collaborate and talk about things. Same thing with the Reverend Warrior. Same thing with Veterans Trash Talk and all of our social media. It's just another outlet, another place to go. Well, everybody knows your name. You get to go there a couple of times. They get to know you. They get friendly. Even though I didn't go to my VFW a whole lot, the bartender did. She may not remember my name, but she remembered that I would been in there before, and would ask how I was doing, what was up, and what was going on. And some of the guys
Yep.
sitting around the bar too. So it's just a good place to go, just to relax. Don't have to worry about anything, and just enjoy yourself for a couple hours. And a lot of them have big screen TVs. A lot of them play a lot of the more popular football games. They'll have UFC fights. Like I said, that VFW I was part over there in Woodbridge did a lot.
Yeah, so being around veterans, I just posted something here. It says, one of my friends posted a few years ago, a female veteran was in trouble from a case of domestic violence. A Marine veteran showed up with four of his friends, moved her out, and got her to safety. They never posted about it, but they put the fear on her abuser, so he left her alone. I can't begin to tell you why the veteran community is just different, and you will always find vets to help. So if you ever find yourself in a situation or you're ever down, you can always reach out to veterans. You can always go to the VFW. You can go to the American Legion. You can find that camaraderie, and our mission never ends.
Yeah. No, it can't end because like I said, we're losing too many. There's too many
Hmm.
veterans out there suffering in silence, and there's and I wonder if some of it is because of the multiple medications and the reactions to the medications that they're on. Because sometimes when you mix medications, they can have adverse effects, and it's okay to ask your doctor about these medications. It's okay to educate yourself on the side effects of the medications because sometimes the two drugs can interact differently with your body and have very bad repercussions of that. Just like about 2 years ago, I went to the doctor for a sinus infection, which I don't normally go to, but when it gets bad enough, you got to go to the doctor. And they prescribed me. I've taken amoxicillin and had no problems, but I got prescribed amoxicillin or amoxiclave, and that's a synthetic antibiotic they mixed with amoxicillin. And within 1 hour, I had a complete allergic reaction to it. Where I was back in the
Wow.
emergency room, where I broke out from head to toe, completely turned flush. Luckily, my throat didn't close up, and it happened quick. And so, but I knew from at the TBI clinic from my functional doctor that um, I have the genetic gene in my body that if there's anything synthetic put in my body rejects it. I know this. And so my body rejected that, and I wind up spending several hours in the emergency room, letting that infection go away. And then I went and did a test to make sure I'm not allergic to amoxicillin, which I knew I wasn't, but I did the test anyway. And so now I know that I have to ask the doctor specifically what's in this medication because I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know what amoxicillin was. I had no idea what it was. I just thought it was amoxicillin, but it's not.
I have a friend that has an allergy to antibiotics or like a resistance to it. Like her body can't
Hmm.
take it. There's certain antibiotics that she can't take because they overprescribed her antibiotics at
Oh
one
yeah,
point, and now her body just rejects it or like has an allergy reaction to it.
yeah. Yeah, like I said, if you get a sore throat or something, that's the strongest. And it sounds kind of weird, but if you cut up a tomato and mix it with honey, it'll pretty much get rid of your sore throat almost immediately. And it's an amazing natural reaction. Just the same as people don't realize oregano is a very strong antibiotic. Same with garlic, very strong antibiotic. So
Yeah, I think also cayenne helps
Cayenne
as
pepper,
well.
yep. Cayenne
Mm-hmm.
pepper heals your blood. It's very
Mm-hmm.
good. Same with turmeric. And so I take cayenne pepper every single day. It thins your blood. It does a lot of wonderful things for your circular system. And so it's very important to take. You don't have to take a lot. I take a quarter teaspoon a couple of times a day. But you have to be careful with the cayenne pepper because not that it's going to hurt you because you can't take, it's not going to hurt you no matter what you take, but it will do is it will clean you out. So if you're constipated and you want to clean yourself out, you take about 3 doses of cayenne pepper in about 2 days. You're going to be like you're taking the movie prep for your colonoscopy. You'll be cleared out.
Wow. You probably want to stay home for a little bit for that, especially for the veterans with IBS.
I know, right? Well, it helps with all that.
Mm-hmm.
Ginger is very good for gastric issues and things like that. Fresh ginger and drink ginger tea and other stuff. I take an immunity drink every day that I make. I take it on an empty stomach, and it's made with fresh ginger, turmeric, cayenne pepper, lemon, and garlic, fresh garlic, and I put it in about 2 cups of water, and I make that, and I make 2 bottles at a time, and I drink it every morning on empty stomach, and that boosts my immunity, boosts your energy levels. And so there's all kinds of things that you can go out there and take and do. But hey, with that, we're gonna go ahead and get this wrapped up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go through our list of our sponsors real quick, then I'm going to let Lynn close out the show and talk about Veterans Trash Talk yes, Brian, avocados are absolutely amazing. But a lot of people don't eat the seed of the avocado. You can eat the inside of the avocado; it's very good for you. So hey, with that QR code up the upper left hand corner, you get Reads Across America. Like I talked earlier on, you can memorialize, a veteran or a family member there. With that, you can scan that QR code for low as $10. You can ensure that the wreath's placed on that tombstone during the holiday season, and it's amazing what they do, and they do so much more than that. Go out and visit their website. But along with that, as I talked earlier, Reads Across America Radio replays my podcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. It's super easy to find. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app and search for Reach Across America Radio for not only this great podcast for Lynn and I, but also all the great podcasts they have on. And they play some really good music there too. So it's a full-blown radio station, and super happy to be part of them. And of course, I talked about 10th Mountain. It's in the comment section there with the great bourbon that they have. And they also have moonshine. They have vodka. They have all kinds of drinks there. But if you can use the code VTT, you can save 10% on your order. And along with the Veterans Mortgage, they played the video before. And so, go back and rewatch that, scan that QR code. Interest rates are going to be coming down. And so, hey, educate yourself on that. Maybe you use a home improvement. Maybe you want to get a lower interest rate. And so, give them a chance, give them a look at. They are veteran owned. And, we're always thankful for all of our sponsors. And also, you have PCS to Paradise. Maybe you want to go to Hawaii. What's interesting here, Lynn, is a lot of the people that are stationed here that were thinking they were going to Germany or getting stationed, they're shifting them to all to Hawaii. A lot
Wow.
of families, thought they were going to Germany as the next duty station, but the Navy's moving them to Hawaii. I'm not too sure what's going on there. And so,
Hmm.
hey, you know what? Scan that PCS Paradise and find that luxury home or the vacation home you've been looking for. But along with that, Van, give us a quick talk about Veterans Trash Talk. I got their "Quit Being a Trigger Pansy" shirt on tonight, and all the things going on. And we'll just let you close the show out, Lynn.
All right, guys, if you haven't yet, check out www.veterantrashtalk.com. On there, you can find the Quit Being a Triggered Pansy on our shop. That is
That's right.
our number one selling shirt.
Wear
Scan that
that to the
QR code right
VFW. That'll give
there.
you a lot.
You can find there's female shirts, there's male shirts. I think they still have that button. And you can find all of our podcasts on there, including the Trash Talk Hour that's on recorded on Saturdays. So with that, everyone enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Yeah, take